So tell me more about what's happening in Mexico.
So last week it was announced by the government, the Secretary of Energy, that there was going to be a 20% gas increase at the pump, um, which infuriated the entire country. And we're not hearing any of this in American news, but we will soon. We will soon. Any day now, we will, because things are just getting started. Not only is there massive marches going on everywhere in the entire country, but there's a tremendous amount of roadblocks that are going on through the whole country. They're choking off main arteries to get in and out of cities. And when I talk about it's just citizens. It's regular citizens. Yeah, there's teachers unions that are behind this. There's field workers unions that are behind this. There's a lot of different unions that are behind this, but it's also just general everyday people that are furious and livid about it. They're shutting down oil refineries, the entrances and exits. They're shutting down the distribution centers for petroleum. They're blocking trains from getting in and out of their respective ports. Some entire cities have been blocked off, all their entrances and exits all the way around. One of the state houses, I think in Aguascalientes, got taken over last night. So this is epic, and it's happening. All 30 states are affected. Everywhere it's getting hit. It's not just one place is or isn't. It's everything from Tijuana and Rosarito. Rosarito's where they took over one of the refinery spots. They blocked everything off of the refinery spots. All the way down to the tip to Chiapas, right? Some of the more creative things that are going on too is they're also emptying out all the oil tankers. So they're jacking all the gas from the oil tankers. They're taking over countless gas stations. Countless gas stations are either being blocked to keep people from getting in and out, or what they're doing, my personal favorite, and some of the teachers unions are behind it, is they'll take over a gas station and they'll give away everything at the gas station. They'll give away all the gas that's in the tanks. They'll give away all the oil that they have, and everything that they have. They'll give all that away. There's the more creative ones is around the Zócalo in Mexico City, where the legislators and everybody does their business. They're blocking off the entrances and exits to that by ghost riding the whips all the way around. There's multiple cars that are doing that, taxi drivers too. And it's not just regular people, it's everywhere. It's everyday people, it's truck drivers, it's field workers, it's farm hands, it's teachers unions, it's all across the board. My favorite one is that they're taking over toll booths, and most of Mexico runs off of paying toll booths to go on these private roads, these private highways to get from one city to another. So they're taking over those toll booths and just letting everybody run through, which is a beautiful thing.
For free.
For free, yeah, as it should be from the beginning. But that's the level of corruption they get, that people have to pay even to cross certain highways. So that's what's going on. And then politicians are jumping on board and saying, oh, we're also against the gas hikes and we're appalled, blah, 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 blah. And it pisses me and a lot of people off, because they're like, no, you guys are the ones that voted for this 2 years ago. You guys are the ones that pushed for this. We all said no to the energy reform, because it's not just the gas prices that are going up. The gas prices going up are part of a much bigger reform later. But there's so many politicians that have come out and tried to show face and be like, oh yeah, we're against it too, and they get shut down real quick because people aren't having it. People are burned out enough to the point where they've been posting pictures of all the politicians that voted yes on the energy reform, which is three major parties. Three major parties, all of them voted yes. And they directly benefit because some of those politicians that signed off yes are the ones that own the companies that are getting that are going to profit directly from it. The Secretary of Energy, I believe, owns 5 stations by himself. 5 of the gas stations by himself. So that doesn't include his family and his friends and everybody else and what they own. So that's been happening to a crazy extent. And we might see it differently because we're like, oh, 20%, blah, 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 $4 or $5. We're used to paying $4 or $5. But Mexico has operated very differently for many decades. Since '38, their oil has been nationalized. It used to be privatized. It used to be in the hands of Texaco and ExxonMobil and all that other stuff back before 38, till the president took it from the American and European companies and nationalized it and distributed it from there. Now, over the decades, corruption. This is the third president that has been a part of systematically destroying the petroleum industry, the nationalized petroleum industry. And this most recent one is the one that's putting the final nail in the coffin. But up until recently, that company Pemex, the one that I have my little truckita here, Pemex was still 38 on Forbes 500 list. So the reason why they were able to get this energy reform in to include the gas and sell off everything is because they said, oh, well, the company's hemorrhaging money and it's not pulling in any money and it's throwing us in debt and we've had to bail it out, which is true. They've had to bail out Pemex a few times, but that's because they jack 70% of the money that Pemex pulls in. They're having a company operate with 30% of its earnings because these crooked, greedy politicians have just been pocketing everything forever. There was a $900 million state-of-the-art oil refinery that they were going to build in one city a few years ago, and it was made national news and all kinds of pride, and everybody was super excited about it. They ended up building a wall and pocketing all the rest of the money. Although, like, where did all this go? It all disappeared. It all went up in thin air. And the main ones that have been behind the privatization of this are obviously American oil companies, because we want access to all the pipelines that they have, their distribution, but more importantly, because it is a successful operating company, we want access to all of the oil wells that they have, but also all the offshore oil wells in the Gulf of Mexico, and everything that has to do with it. And we basically want to take a bit. So they're going to sell off all of what Pemex has, but they haven't sold it off yet. What they're doing right now, the reason they bumped up all the gas prices, is because they're trying to make it appear more enticing to investors. They want to show investors that they're trying to clean it up, doll it up. So they're like, all right, bump up, raise this on everything. And because they're also privatizing the electrical grid and they're privatizing the natural gas grid that goes to all the homes, electricity's going up 25% this month, and natural gas is going up 25% this month too. So the entire cost of living for across the country is all going up, and people are already broke and can't have it. They're already at their tolerance level for that, because the gas for your cars, that's already almost doubled in the last 10, 15 years, something like that. So it's already been creeping up with every president that comes in who's been sold out to U.S. interests and European interests. So the reforms that got signed off on 2 years ago were a huge point of debate 2 years ago. And it wasn't until last week that they announced that the gas prices were getting hiked up. And people are just not having it. They are livid about it. Now, the silver lining is that the current president is hated. He has been hated for quite some time already. Presidents in Mexico serve one term of 6 years. The reason they do that, I'm guessing it's convenient now, is because we have American companies that just say, all right, what do we need? What do we need a re-election for? We need you to handle your stuff within 6 years and then get out. Get out so that enough people hate you, and then we can have another president come in to sell us all the rest of the stuff that you get going. So the election's coming up in 2018, June 2018. The election cycle was going to start in a few months, and I don't see any way that any of the it's kind of like what happened here, where the Democratic Party has imploded and the Democratic Party has no credibility right now. It's a very similar thing out there. The PRI, but it's across the board. The PRI, the PAN, the PRD, and then the Green Party out there were all on board with this energy reform because they all got kickbacks from it, and nobody's fucking with them anymore. They torched one of the PRI buildings in some small town. I forget where it was. They torched one of the buildings there. The only party that voted unanimously no on the energy reforms across the board is called Morena. So that would be the party of Lopez Obrador, which is like the equivalent of Bernie Sanders. He's the real Bernie Sanders. He's what Bernie Sanders. So he's gone through multiple election cycles, never sold out, a bunch of stuff like that, and he's really the only one that stands a chance right now at winning when he was already in second place the last few elections. And essentially that's it. It's going to get worse before it gets better, but the people of Mexico are unanimously pissed. Everybody's unanimously pissed, and nobody's reporting on it now. But things are going to start to escalate, and things are going to heat up, and things are going to get worse. A few minutes ago, I saw a video of them breaking into bunch of people in one city broke into like a department store and jacked a bunch of TVs or something like that, an electronic retailer or something like that, and walked out with a bunch of TVs. But that's going to be the tip of the iceberg. This isn't something that's going to stop anytime soon. And now that the energy reforms are in effect, there's going to be hell to pay. It's a very tumultuous time and an unpredictable time to be in Mexico right now. Which both of my parents are in Mexico, so they'll be fine. They'll be fine. It's there is a unity amongst people right now. Everybody's universally pissed, and that's what's going on. And if any more updates and things like that go on, then we'll be updating you guys later on.
Can you remind me real quick the difference between a nationalized gas and privatized gas?
Nationalized gas is like what Bolivia has with their natural gas and what Venezuela has with their gas. What it means is that.
Can you bring it a little closer to home though, like to draw the difference?
Yeah, it's if for example every gas station in this country was owned by the government, and the gas prices are controlled by the government, which means we're not going to have $3.75 at this gas station and $3.63 at this gas. It's the same price across the board. Of course, different regions that have different requirements and stuff like that, it might be a little different here and there. But across the board, it's everybody pays the same gas price. And the excuse that the politicians are saying is that they're saying, oh, well, the gas prices are going up, but they're going to be reflecting, all they're doing is reflecting the international price of gas. And you're like, oh, they're like, no, that's not true, because the gas prices are going up to more than what they're paying in the U.S. And the U.S. is not a gas-producing nation like that. That's why we have so many wars for oil, because because we're out there jacking everybody else for their oil, because we don't generate the oil to keep ourselves afloat with all the car driving that we do. Whereas Mexico does generate enough oil and petroleum to drive all their cars, but because of so much corruption and collusion, they've shut down refineries over the course of the last few months. The president, it took to do stuff like this to keep in right before they bumped up these gas prices in the last few months. What they started doing is they started operating the few refineries that are in Mexico. They started operating them at 70% of their capacity, just to have like less gas, so that it drives up the price. So it's easier to drive up the price of gas, so that there's some scarcity, so that they sell off all the gas that they do have. They're starting to play the supply and demand. So because they're doing that, they haven't sold off all the integral parts yet, but they're scheduled to be sold off. It could be next month, could be the month after that, who knows? And that's where a lot of the companies, the vultures have been circling for a while around Mexico, and that's because they've been pushing hard to privatize anything of value, which is now the electric grid, the gas grid, the petroleum, natural gas, and the education reform. The education reform is another one that the teachers have been battling for the last few years, and that's it. This is going to get cracking.
All right.